Hi, everybody. I'm LHG, Latanya Harris Gooden, and I am the founder, creator, and lead podcast host for Critical Conversations, the network. So, what is the Critical Conversations Network and where did it come from? It is a platform that is dedicated to discussing the 7 dimensions of wellness and wholeness. I am on Facebook and YouTube. So reach out. I would love to speak with you about whatever ideas you might already have about a podcast. You never know. You could be sitting on a gold mine.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm here with my brother. Woo! Let me tell you. First of all, let me just say to my bro Hamlet, the one and the only the world couldn't handle too. Fred Beatty, CEO of Trailblazerz.
Hey,
Radio in the house.
what's going on?
Hey. Simone is in the house. You know Simone ain't gonna be too far.
Right.
Hey, girl. Hey. Good evening. I'm so excited about this conversation. Thank you, brother, for accepting this last minute invitation. I just realized that June is Men's Mental Health Month, and I just think this is necessary and needed. And I'm taking this entire month to spend time with those who I call brother. And I don't use that word loosely or without mad respect. And today is Brother Fred. Tomorrow will be the incomparable Nkosi Mason. And we're trying to get Gene Alexander and a few other brothers to come through. Why? Because we need to talk to the brothers on a even playing field where it's not we at each other's throats. We don't do that over here in Critical Conversations Network. We truth crusaders. We're not haters. We welcome camaraderie and understanding, and we are here to support our brothers. I read these lyrics last night on Dana's show, and I'm gonna read them again tonight. He is my king. He is my one. He's my father. He's my son. I can talk to him because he understands everything I go through and everything I am. That's my support system. I can't live without him. The best thing since sliced bread is his kiss, his hugs, his lips, his touch. And I just want the whole world to know about my Black brother. I love you. I will never try to hurt you. I want you to know that I'm here for you forever. True. Rest in peace, Angie Stone. This song is befitting every day. It's not just a men's mental health kind of song. We really should be declaring our admiration and our love for our brothers and normalizing that. Mm-hmm. And to all the bitter baby mamas, maybe y'all should learn this song. Well, you don't know my situation, LHG. You don't know what my baby daddy didn't do to me. You know, that's true, Bonquisha. I don't know. But what I do know is this brother on the screen right here, I have mad respect for. And to all those who've been wondering, well, what happened? Did she leave Trailblazers? Let me tell you, Trailblazers gave me my start in podcasting. I have mad respect and mad love for the Trailblazers brand. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for getting that phone call 3.5, almost 4 years ago. And I will forever be grateful to Fred, Coco, Quint. Shout out to Bobby Takeover, the original crew. I am indebted to my people, and Fred and I are going to be sister and brother forever. And so y'all can stop talking in the streets. Y'all can stop being confused. Ain't no bad blood here. Trust me, ain't no bad
Forever,
blood here.
forever.
Right. And you know, when we come together on any topic, you might as well get your coffee, your tea, your whiskey,
Everything.
whatever you need. Your whiskey, your moonshine.
Everything.
Is going down. But so I brought Fred here because when you talk about men's mental health, and I said this in one of my reels, I have been accused of diagnosing men because I recognize certain behaviors. I have a therapist. I have a psychiatrist. I have experienced mental health breakdowns. I have appointments where I talk to people. And we ain't got to be on the couch no more. We have graduated to being on Zoom. I'm excited about the conversation too, Simone. So when I talk to a young man or just a brother, period, and say, I recognize that you might be going down a rabbit hole. It's not, I can't diagnose nobody. I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV. But if I care enough about you and I recognize some signs that I have seen for myself, why wouldn't I be able to say, hey, bro, or a friend or whoever, I think you might need some help. So let's start there. Before I do that, let me pray real quick. Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for this conversation. I thank you for the information that's going to come through this conversation so that we can make sure that our brothers are covered and that they know that we care and we love them. And we thank you that you're going to change us as women in terms of how we put unrealistic expectations and we expect perfection when we are totally imperfect, because nobody is perfect, but a perfect God made us imperfectly suited for one another. So God, I ask you to strengthen the bond between men and women and between friends and friendship and between husband and wife and between boyfriend and girlfriend and between brother and sis, whatever it may be. I thank you because these critical conversations will bring forth revelation that we really ain't that different from each other. Yes, our anatomy makes us different, but we still have emotions. Men have emotions. I thank you, God, that we are killing the social construct that says it is weak to speak or that you are feminine because you are honest. We are coming against every demonic force that holds our brothers' emotions captive. For every mama that taught her son not to cry, I ain't gonna wish nothing bad on her, but I'm gonna ask her is she alive to make it right. For every father that made that little boy get up off the ground, even though his dang on leg was broke, and told him to shut up and man up, sir, I'm gonna ask you to own your wrong and repent, not only to God but to your son, and to every Black man that has been demonized or racially profiled for nothing, brother, I'm sorry. And to every man, period, that has had to carry the weight of an ever-changing world and go out and make something out of nothing without being supported, we apologize tonight. And God, bless this conversation, bless my brother, bless his every endeavor, bless his businesses, bless Trailblazerz Radio, bless his relationships that are ordained by you, bless his mind, even as he goes to work every day and as he pursues his dreams. God, make a clean canvas and you can paint color and texture in his life that will adequately depict the real deep thoughts that he may be thinking that he don't always want to share, but God, create a safe space in every place so that he can be all of who you made him to be, every layer, every dimension, every facet, nothing lacking, nothing broken. Bless everybody in the chat as we have this conversation. Heal afflicted bodies, heal troubled minds, heal money that ain't right, heal us financially, heal us in every dimension of wellness and wholeness, so that this human existence is not just a series of unfortunate events, but we can live the abundant life that your word talks about. And we'll say thank you and we'll give you the glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all come on in here. Share share this. Tag every brother you know, young, middle age. I'm gonna give my brother a chance to catch us up on what he's been doing, and then we gonna hop on in. Bro, what you been up to?
So, a couple things I've been working on. So I'm working on my sixth book, which is called Thoughts to Contemplate of
Sixth
Soul.
book?
Yeah, sixth. This will be my sixth published book
Wow,
called
bro.
Thoughts to Contemplate of Soul.
Mhm.
Finishing up writing. I was, before I even came on, I was maybe like an hour before you sent me the link. I was actually writing. A couple of more poems and a couple of more short
Wow.
stories. As far as like the podcast thing is concerned, I'm not in front of the camera or in front of the microphone right now, but I am in front. I am in front of the microphone doing more audio podcasts. So I have
Okay.
doing more of that type of stuff. So I'm doing something that's, referring to pop culture icons such as Toonami, Adult Swim, things of that nature. I've talked a little bit about Warhammer 40K, things of that nature. I have
Okay.
a series currently right now called The Value of My Service. Part
Ooh,
one
I
and part
saw
two are
that.
Part one and part two are currently on Spotify right now. I just finished recording part three, and that'll be uploaded here soon to Spotify, and that'll be available on Tuesday. So I've been posting all my audio podcasts around around the same days and same times, which is basically
Mhm.
a Tuesday and Friday schedule, which is around they always come on around 7 p.m. So, if you're interested in taking a listen to what I have currently so far, go to Spotify Trailblazerz Radio, and
Yes.
there they are. So like I said, I'm doing a lot of audio stuff, more audio recordings, just and again, it's just for me to kind of get myself back into the groove of things. You will see this lovely face soon, but as of right now, um, I think what I'm doing as far as my voice, and I'm also trying to work on developing my voice narration and my voice acting skills, so that way I
Oh, now
can
that's
kind of present myself
exciting.
to other entities, such as um maybe a major network to do some commercials, or maybe some animation studio, so maybe I can voice a character. So that's what
I
I'm
love
working on that
it.
primarily.
I'm so
um
proud of you, bro.
yeah, I mean, I'm busy, but I'm keeping myself busy, but at the same time, I'm working on getting certain skills together. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm working on at the moment. So, hey, I mean, it's been working so far. It's been helpful thus far. I'm happy about the progress that I've made as far as doing the voiceovers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it ha, it's been a transition from March to now,
Okay.
but I am happy with the transition. I am
Good.
happy with the transition, because
Good.
this thing isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And
Ooh,
to
wee.
and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't treat it as a marathon at first. Now I know it's a marathon. And
Okay.
this
Now,
isn't
what's the
about
difference? Talk about that. When you say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Give me some elaboration on that statement.
understanding. For me, is more or less understanding that what I was doing was a business and not an expensive hobby.
Mm,
Putting a lot of things in perspective. Um,
mm.
Understanding that there's value in people. There's value in um, opinions, whether they're good opinions or not. There's value in
Okay.
feedback. There's value in feedback.
Okay.
There's value in people. That one of the things that I learned after things kind of shut down is that this is what I felt, and what I was going through is basically a human experience.
Mm,
Failure, disappointment, all these things are human emotions.
mm.
It takes a while for us as people to understand what that is you're feeling, but also how to rebound or how to bounce back from what it is you're feeling. I think that's kind of the more integral thing for us as guys. I mean, if you want to jump right into the conversation, I think we can start there.
I think that's a very good place to start. So when you're talking about human emotions, most people that I've talked to in my lifetime feel, or they subscribe to the myth or the lie that it's women that are the emotional beings. I have learned from being married, from being divorced,
Mm-hmm.
from now being back in the world. Um, I almost want to say men might be more emotional. Or maybe we're 50-50, but it's not so much important as the ratio. It's just that the men that I've met feel as though expressing those emotions is what puts them it subjects you to being ridiculed, being told you're a punk, being towards you a PUSSY,
Mm.
being told oh, men don't cry. And I oftentimes give that scenario of children falling off a bike and the young girl is coddled. She's told, oh baby, it's gonna be okay. And the little boy is told, get up, man up, pick up your broken leg and tape it back up. And it's as though from the childhood we're taught that boys should always maintain a macho, manly, don't let them see you sweat, don't shed a tear persona.
Yeah,
Why? Let's start there. Why is that, Fred?
probably because, and I can take it back to my own, um, how my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taught as a young boy, as a young man or a young boy, how to navigate those emotions.
Mm,
Wasn't taught as, I mean, those emotions were there and I experienced them in in their fullness, but I wasn't taught how to navigate those, how to properly, deal with those.
mm.
Um, and I can also say that, my father probably wasn't taught that either.
Wow.
I mean, his father probably wasn't taught that either. So I mean, it is a thing that that trickles down from one generation to the next. Um, I didn't start realizing the value or the power of my emotions until I joined the military. But at the same time, there even in that,
Mm.
we were taught to kind of to bury those things. So,
Wow.
and it wasn't until I got out of the military that I realized that, okay, these are things that I'm going to have to deal with them, that I'm going to have to confront or handle at one point or another. And
Yes.
but also in the same instance, navigating that, it was such a difficult path,
Wow.
because of the simple fact of, there's anger, there's rage, there's sadness, there's disappointment, there's rejection and dejection, and all these
Mm.
things are coming at either all at one time or one thing after another. And I'm trying to deal with all these things all at one time, and well, we try to deal with all these things all at one time, and you can't do that.
You
So
can't.
in most cases, a lot of us as men have been taught to wear armor, to put on armor,
Ooh, wow.
to not, number one, armor that protects us from not feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but also protects us from being hurt by somebody.
Right.
Um, and we're taught to keep that stone mask on
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
time, because it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter what you feel, doesn't matter what you're feeling, you're not supposed to show that. But the
Right.
funny thing about this is, everybody associates rage and anger, those two emotions, solely
Mm-hmm.
with men,
And with black men.
more in particular. Yes.
Ooh.
So rage and anger are the two most prevalent emotions that are associated with us.
Wow. That's heavy, because I just, in my mind, I could see a black man walking down the street on one side of the road, uh, Caucasian female on the other side, and she's clenching her purse or ducking and dodging, because the assumption is he may try to rob me, or he may try to rape me or something like that. And the media has played into that. Even in news stories, when it's something bad close to Detroit, not in Detroit, but they'll always say in Detroit. It wasn't even in the city limits, but it's bad, they want to put it on Detroit. When it's something good in Detroit, they'll say on the outskirts of Detroit. No, it's the same thing with brothers, with men. When it's something bad, it's like it has to be the baby daddy's fault. It has to be, ain't no father in the house. It has to, and that may be the case, but we make assumptions and we create these prejudgments that almost make us go into a situation with our dukes up, expecting that man to be rough, a rough rider, and out of control and mentally ill, exhibiting, certain kinds of behaviors. And what if there is a man that is exhibiting behaviors of mental illness? Do we ask what has happened to that man? Do we ask where that man has been? Not justifying behavior per se, but there's always something behind the behaviors. Even if you have a man that's incarcerated or has done something that's egregious to the point of having to be, locked up or something, not justifying the act per se, but psychologically, is there something that broke for him? And you said something about you didn't know how to navigate emotions. So your father probably didn't, and his father probably didn't. So we're talking about generations of this thought. Boy, don't you cry. Boy, don't you stand up straight. Don't you slouch. Don't you show. Don't you nothing. You got to go out here and you got to be John Q. If anybody's ever seen the movie John Q before, you got to go out here. You got to make something happen. You got to, by any means necessary. And the Bible does talk about how a husband should be for his wife, protecting and providing. But what about the support system around that man?
Mm-hmm.
How important is that, brother? How important is, okay, I'm the man. Okay, I'm going to assume the position. I made vows to do this and that. But what type of support does that man need? Ideally, if you could just have your way and a wish list of the kind of support you would need, not just from a significant other, but in your community, what would that look like?
Well, support looks different for everybody. There's no one way I could kind of single that out or quantify it. However, there are some basics. There's some basics. One of those things is, having a strong spiritual support system, having trusted people that you can confide into in your church community, whether that be a pastor, whether that be a minister, whether that be, another church member that you've grown close to and feel that you can trust with certain things. That's one thing. That's one thing. Having a strong spiritual support system works. The communal support system that's so large and so varied. It just depends on the people that you pull into your orbit. I know my support system looks like family, the brothers that are in my family. We all sit down. We have this chat thread. We have this little text thread that
that's good.
We all talk about how, we say what's going on. We check in with each other.
That's wonderful.
We talk about what's going on with us and how we're dealing with certain things. There's an immense part of satisfaction when it comes to when you talk to people that you can trust and that you can that you know that you can trust and you can have there, and they'll be able to they'll give you suggestions, they'll hold you to account, they'll keep you on mission. and things of that nature. Also, just having a spouse or a loved one that is supportive of you. It makes the difference. It makes the difference in the world. But also, I think the one thing that's very important, and this is something that I cannot overlook, is supporting yourself.
Oh, okay. Let's go there.
Advocating for yourself. You know you better. You know you better than anybody. You know when you're feeling bad or you're going through something. Advocate for yourself. If you have a counselor or a a psychologist that you speak to, or a licensed clinical social worker that you speak to, talk to them.
Yeah.
Speak to them. Let them know what's going on. Let them know that, hey, I'm having this type of a day and I need to talk to somebody about it. You know, before it spirals out of control. Self-advocacy is important because, again, you know yourself more better than anyone around you. You know, it's also, you know, make sure but it's also talking, but it's also employing positive self-speak too.
Oh,
we all know how crazy this world is, and we all know the social political aspects that are pointed toward men, especially Black men.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people understand, and I'm gonna speak this mostly to our sisters, and I want y'all to hear me very well when I say this. Y'all don't know what we carry on our shoulders.
Wow.
It's more than just the weight of the world. It's more than just the weight of negative opinions and negative speaking. It's more than that.
Okay.
We carry the weight of not only the world on our shoulders. We carry the hopes. We carry our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations.
Okay.
Questions about our own future and the future of our children on our backs. We carry doubt. We carry worry, fear.
Wow.
All those things we carry on our backs, and for a lot of us, it's like an elephant having all four of its legs on your shoulder.
Hey, Coach Fee. Wow.
No one sees that because, again, we're taught to keep our face blank, not show any of that.
Not show any emotion.
A lot of us as men walk around in that condition. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. There are times where I walk around in that condition. There are days where I feel like the weight of the world is just so heavy on me, and there are days I don't, just be like, you know what? I don't even want to get out of bed.
My God, real talk.
And those things lead to depression. Those things lead to a man wanting to remove himself from this plane of existence.
Yes.
You know, people don't see that. You know, that really is a side that part of it. Guys want to take themselves out of existence. That's a silent killer.
Yeah.
Depression and anger. Depression is a silent killer.
It is.
You know, having those intrusive thoughts about you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You don't make enough money. You're not that good of a father. You're not that good of a husband. You're not that good of a man in every aspect of that.
Wow.
These things hold weight, but they also hold sway over a person, to the point that they don't even want to even think about anything else. And part of this is in part of a poem that I wrote called Thoughts of a Broken Man. The part of the second to last stanza says, taking myself out of this plane of existence became more than just a thought. It became an action that had permanent reverberations throughout the generations.
Jesus.
And what I mean by that is that when those generations suffer,
Hey, Zita.
It's crazy to think about it in that aspect. And I get I get emotional when I talk about it because it takes me back to my own. It takes me back to my own struggles. I
Yeah.
ain't I ain't healed or perfect by no. I ain't perfect by no means, and I ain't
Right.
completely healed by no means either. Because if it's one thing I want our sisters to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is an important thing. I want y'all, my sisters to understand that
Okay.
number one, we are human beings first,
Mm.
men second.
Okay.
And that's
Okay. Y'all hear that? Human first, men second. Mm.
you can't put me as a man first and then human second. It makes no sense.
Mm. Now
It
tell me
doesn't.
why that order. Why human first and then men second?
Well, because whether we're male or female, we're all human. That's
This is
one reason.
true. This is
Number two
true.
is that all human beings experience the full emotional spectrum.
True.
So as humans, we're not immune to that.
Mm.
I would rather be looked at as a human first,
Okay.
man second,
Okay.
because I am a human and I am living the same human experience that you are. It may not
Well,
be,
let me say this.
it may not be same, but it's the human experience.
But think about if we could think about how we are taught as children. When we are young girls, we are taught, and a lot of the storybooks would have these stories that would pretty much paint the picture of men as a knight in shining armor coming to take you away. And Anita Baker's song Fairy Tale talks about that, how her mama even taught her these fairy tales like before she went to bed, like these happy endings where a man would come and just sweep you up and knock you off your feet with this wonderful love, and you would never have to want for anything. So sometimes the whole social construct and the generational falsities, if that's the word,
It
have
is.
created this picture perfect vision, and almost to where, like, girl, you ain't nothing unless you grow up and get married. That man is what makes you a woman. That man is what sets you apart and makes you worthy of something. We kind of taught ourselves that. Coach Fee says, true. My bio, the first thing is human. Yep. True,
Mhm.
my brother. My first thing is human. Simone says, yes, Fred. We are humans first and male and female second. But if you think about how we are taught throughout the generations, the man is supposed to carry the weight of what you just said, the world, the galaxy, the moon, Jupiter, and we're supposed to be protected by him. But
Mhm.
nobody ever talked about the type of support that he would need in order to carry all of that.
Who protects the protector?
Ooh, come on with it. Who protects the protector? I guess
You're
God.
asking you're asking me to protect you, but who's going to protect me? I mean,
Wow.
and in most cases, I'm I'm gonna do as a man, I'm gonna do whatever I can to defend myself
Mm-hmm.
against whatever, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to defend my family and my significant other from whatever. But there are times where, and I'm not talking, and for me, I'm not talking about physical protection.
Okay. Okay.
I'm talking about emotional and mental protection.
Okay.
Who protects us from those things? Those emotional and mental attacks that we face, those emotional and mental burdens
That is heavy, Coach.
that we're tied down with.
And in many cases, a lot of young men, or just men period, have had mothers who checked out on them emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
If she was more tuned into the daughter's emotions and not the son's, and if the dad was more tuned in, let's play football, let's be rough, let's be tough, and not let me help you navigate emotion, then you're not getting it from either parent as far as how to navigate. Then what do you have? And that might be why back in the day, a lot of brothers would lean towards gangs. All they wanted to do was belong to something. I always say, and I this is just in my brain, the average human being wants to do two things. I call it B and B: believe and belong. You want to believe in something and belong to something. Yeah. That's really all people really want. I want to believe in a higher power, God, for me, and I want to belong to a community, a family that loves me. Mm-hmm. Yes, Simone, Jesus, that is our protector. But other than Jesus, who's giving our brothers that support? If the women are always constantly saying, you ain't nothing, you ain't tall enough, your penis ain't big enough. It's after 7:30. We can talk about that. You know, you're too dark, you're too this, you ain't nothing. And let me just give a little bit of transparency here. Let me just be really brutally honest. I grew up in a home, and this is no disrespect to my parents. I never was homeless. I ate good. I had all the basics. But I also grew up in a home where there was a lot of psychological, mental problems. I grew up in a home where the mother, the female, was the dominant person. And she had no problem reminding that man that I don't really need you. That I really got everything I need, and you just along for the ride. So guess who has to try to not be that? If you live in a home where it's constant berating, demeaning, degrading of a man, and that's all you know, but yet I still want you here.
That's an
but
emotional
burden. I already need you per se.
That's an emotional burden.
Whoa, come on.
That is an emotional burden. I don't want you here, but I don't want you here. I don't need you here, but I want you here.
I want you when I want to be bothered with you.
That's like saying That's like saying I want French fries, but I end up getting potato wedges.
See, but we have to wonder for that, if that person is acting like that. That's right, Auntie. There's some brokenness. Yep, it's after 7:30. You talked about generational perpetuation of these ideals. So if that person, if that woman is constantly berating that man, and then the children hear that, then where does she get it from?
She probably got it
what
from.
does she see? What did she see her father do or not do that makes her feel that way about men? These things are coming down through the lineage.
She saw her mother.
Good point. We don't understand men. If it's no father and no one to teach us certain things, we don't have a good understanding of men, Coach Fee. We have an understanding of sex, but not so much an understanding of men.
Sex doesn't replace love.
Come on. Simone said, sometimes as women, we really only want the man for our fiery loins. Girl, you know me very well.
But Simone, that goes both ways. It really does.
We want each other for the wrong reasons. But the emotional aspect, I was told, let me see how I want to say this without being disrespectful. I was told by a very significant,
it's okay.
It's okay. A significant man in my life told me when we were talking about my past, we got on the subject of absentee fatherism, and he told me that was the will of God.
No,
his absence, his not protecting me from being sexually mishandled by my stepfather was the will of God.
Yeah,
so instead of you saying, I'm sorry I wasn't there, I'm sorry that you were mishandled sexually at the hands of a father figure, I'm sorry I didn't teach you that you were loved and beautiful, it's the will of God.
Sir, I'm gonna need you to reevaluate that.
And I'm supposed to honor the man on Sunday.
No. I'm gonna need you to reevaluate that. I'm gonna need you to turn around and come correct. And yes, he did. Yes, he did lie, brother. Man,
He
I'm gonna
lied.
turn around and repent and recant that.
But let me tell you what he also said. You weren't the only one that was abused. You weren't the only one that saw abuse or that. I said, well, but I don't know what you dealt with, sir.
That's selfish.
I don't know what I don't know. If you don't, and even if you told me, does that justify you doing that to me?
It doesn't. It doesn't because now that's tit for tat, eye for an eye, brother. I mean, sis, that's crazy. First of all, that's a crazy thing. That's a wild thing to say.
It is a wild thing to say, and it hurt me because what I was expecting was, daughter, I'm sorry I wasn't there. You're right. You're right. I should have been there to protect you. Had I been coming to get you every weekend or every other weekend, had I been there, maybe I would have known that your first stepfather had touched you or that you were even in a bed with him and you shouldn't have been. Maybe I could have took you out of that situation. Oh, we're gonna go there. It's after 7:30. We can go there. But you tell me it's the will of God. Now, yes, maybe God allowed it, but to say it is his will, I just can't go along with that, y'all.
Yeah, look, I mean that's your pops and everything, but hey, bro, you need to come. We need to throw hands.
I'm like, dang, I wanted you to be like, where he at? This is my baby. Don't touch my child. I wanted him to be like, oh, I'm sorry I wasn't there. And if I found him today, and whatever, but I'm like, we can't justify not being there. We can only apologize and ask for forgiveness and say, but I want to be here now. That's kind of what I wanted to hear, if I can really be honest.
But you didn't hear that. See,
I didn't hear that. But I'm still going to do what the Bible says. It says honor your parents. It don't say honor them when they're right only.
There wasn't an apology, Coach Fee.
No.
There wasn't an apology.
There wasn't an apology. There wasn't.
Now, I guess
there wasn't.
Here's my thing. Should she expect one? Probably. And this is just me being just honest.
I did expect one, brother. I did, because God gave us another chance to be in each other's lives. I thought that this was our time for him to say, I'm sorry for all the stuff that I didn't do, for the times I left you stood up in your grandmother's window with your coat and your boots and your hat on, thinking I was coming and I knew I wasn't. I'm sorry. Because I was more in tune to chasing women than being with my daughter. And then when I did pick you up, I dropped you off at my mama's house. I wanted an apology. Yes, I'm going to, and I have forgiven him. And I'm working on that, Auntie. I am. And on Sunday, I'm going to honor him because he is my father. And I'm going to allow the Lord to deal with him. I said my piece, and it was not in pretty words.
It's done and dusted at that point. But here's
says, when a parent says things like that, if they don't believe you when you tell them things like that, that's the most painful thing. It's more painful than the act. Mm-hmm. Not being believed by someone is more painful than that you went through.
Exactly. And
yes, Coach Fee, I would like to have healing and reconciliation. He went on to say some very hurtful things to me about my financial status, about my failed marriage. I want to believe that there is something wrong, maybe early dementia or something. But maybe that was his heart about me. Maybe that is really what he feels.
If it is,
and I'm not ashamed to be transparent. It hurt me. I cried. I wept.
Look,
when my father had alcoholism, I was the one before he got sober, I was the one that was picking him up off the floor. when he wanted to leave this planet, like you said earlier, and depression hit him. I, being the only child, I was the one dragging my little baby across town to take care of him. Okay. Yes, I have to forgive. Forgiveness is not a suggestion, it is a mandate. But what I wanted him to do is to own it, y'all, and say, I wasn't in my right mind, daughter.
And here's the thing. It's if you say that you've forgiven him, or are you on the path to that? Anything that he says after that it shouldn't matter. But I know it does, and because that's your father. This is a person that you want to reconcile a relationship.
And you want to make your parent proud. And even though I hit financial devastation and got a divorce, who wants their parent to be, oh yeah, you divorced now and it's happening. You did this wrong. I'm like, bruh, but you've been married twice.
So
bruh.
So here's the thing, and there's 2 points that I want to make when it comes to this, and this is from my own personal experience right now.
Yes.
When my daughter, my only daughter, asked me to come to her wedding.
Okay.
Number one, I was ecstatic.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that recently?
Yeah. No, this has been. She got married in 2019.
Okay.
So I was ecstatic. And I was happy. Number one, happy for her. Ecstatic to be part of it too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Number two, the other thing she mentioned is that, well, you're not going to be the one to walk me down the aisle.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, I wasn't hurt about that, and I understood the reason as to why.
Okay.
I understood the reason as to why. So me personally, I was like, whatever. I mean, my thing is, I'm just glad to be a part of something that's part of something special in your life. I'm glad to see see you go through this process right here. And when I got there, nervous as all hell, I watched my daughter get married to the love of her life.
Wow.
I saw her mother walk her down the aisle. I watched them. I watched them. So these two people are so happy together. The one moment that stood out to me is when me and her mother talked during the reception. Me and her mother had a nice long talk. I apologize for my behavior and my actions and not being there for my daughter.
Wow.
You know, she said, "It's okay. I forgive you." She apologized for her actions and things of that nature. I said,
"That is special."
I said, "You know what? You were justified in your thought process and in your actions. I'm not mad at you about that, and I forgave you a long time ago." The one thing that I also talked to my daughter, and I asked her, I told her that, hey, I'm so sorry for not being present in your life like you needed me to be present. Can you ever find it in your heart to forgive me for not being there for you?
Yes.
The one thing that she said was like, look, all that stuff is in the past. That's up on the rug. What matters is you're here right now and you're celebrating this moment with me. And I was like,
that's good, bro.
That made me feel so good about being there.
I know it did. Yes.
The other thing was most recently, I talked to my father. And now everybody knows, and everybody who's been on these podcasts know that I talked to my father is the larger than life character that I have always imagined him to be. But there were still rifts between our relationship there. So one day I called him. I said, "Hey, Dad, can I talk to you for a moment?" Sure. And I told him what I was feeling. I told him there are sometimes I think that you favor my brothers more than me. Sometimes I think that you're a lot more prouder of my brothers than you are of me. Sometimes I think that you don't think that my accomplishments are good enough and things of that nature. And I said this because honestly speaking, it came from a place of hurt. And I was hurt
Yes.
because there was a rift between there. And what he told me made me stand back and take a breath.
Mm.
I've never been disappointed in you. You've always been proud of me. I've always been proud of you. Now, when you and your brother went to the military, I was disappointed because I imagined another path for you. But you took the path, but you guys took the path that you guys felt that you needed to take. And we talked even more after that. And it felt like a heavy weight was lifted off of me because I carried that pain and that disappointment for so long, thinking that every time that I saw him, he looked at me as a failure.
Yeah.
Thinking that every time he looked at me, he was disappointed in me. But in truth, he was a silent cheerleader.
Mm.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I talked to him. You know, he was a silent cheerleader. And I was like, I didn't know that.
Mm.
And I had no idea. I had no idea what that meant until a couple of days ago.
Wow, bro.
Yeah. Just speaking to him and talking to him in that matter. I mean, now it's just like we can talk. Now we can talk about whatever, and it's no big deal, you know. And
Okay.
he's someone that he's a person whose opinion I value immensely.
Okay.
He's someone that I try to talk to when it comes to certain life situations because he's been down that road. He's been down these roads that I'm traveling now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and even with that, you know, and I've said this story too before. I mean, the first time that I ever saw my dad show any type of emotions when his mother passed. I'm several seats away from him. I see my father bury his face in his hands, and I'm like, I can't. And I'm trying my best. I want to get to him, but I can't. And it's like, you know, and I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about how we handle the emotions and things of that nature is that we as men suffer in silence.
Yeah.
We suffer in an immense amount of silence.
Yeah.
And it's not because we don't want to talk to somebody about it. It's not because we don't want to put ourselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing of like, if I say this to somebody that I care about, are they gonna pull a Uno reverse card on me and use this as ammunition against me?
Yeah.
And for somebody to hold that ammunition, knowing that they can use that at any point in time to break you down, to put you in a situation to where the minute you open up to somebody, and then they have that as ammunition, they can use that to sink your battleship. That's crazy. And
Coach Fee asked a good question about why men do suffer in silence. When my father told me that, basically he was telling me that he saw some things in his childhood, you know, that were abusive. And I never knew my father's father. I knew my father's mother. We called her Big Mom. But by the time I was born, my father's father was deceased. And one of his sisters was already deceased. But he was trying to tell me, while he's lashing out at me, like, you're not the only one that been abused. But I'm like, well, if you were, or if you saw some things, why didn't you say anything? I know he grew up, he's a baby boomer. They were raised by the traditionalist or the silent generation. So certain generations were raised to be just that, silent. But even if you did see some things growing up, if you saw abuse, or if you were abused in any kind of way, and here I am talking to you about what I endure, it's inappropriate, it's foul to basically brush it off like, girl, you ain't the only one that got touched. Ain't the only one that had a father figure touch you.
But
You ain't the
that's
only one. You ain't the only one that looked for your parent and they weren't there. That's how I felt in that moment. How
so
dare you
disingenuous.
minimize that?
That's so disingenuous.
It's like, dang, like, girl, shut up. You're whining. That's the will of God. God wanted that to happen to you.
No,
I'm
and
like,
no,
man,
and no again. No, dude,
man, I
come
tell
on now,
you.
get it
And
together.
you want to be respectful. You wanna do what the Bible says and honor your parents. But when they say some jacked up stuff,
The
and
first thing you want to
unfortunately,
do is throw hands.
and my phone would and this is how I know something is not right. He would be texting me 2 and 3 in the morning
Mm.
about my failed marriage, about me not being a good example to my daughter, about me. He called me homeless.
Oh, come on
Even
now.
though I was displaced, I've never lived outside, but I have lost a home and had to live with my family. This is my biological parent saying these things to me, as if I don't already feel bad enough losing a home, a marriage, my health. You come with that. I'm like, dude, is something wrong with you? That ain't
No,
love. And it's 3 o'clock in the freaking morning. So when you
we
have a parent that's aging, that's just wilding out, it's like,
that's not
dang.
that's not an excuse for to be that's not an excuse to be disrespectful and disingenuous. That's
It's not,
not
and
an excuse.
right, Tiffany. Like, that's like, yeah, you got abused, you got touched. Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
That's
It's
almost like
not
saying, so
normal.
what? It's almost like, so what if that happened to
Right.
you?
It's like, I use this as an opportunity for us to have a heart to heart, a really serious heart to heart, and say, like, okay, honey, you're right. I wasn't there. You're right. I should have been. You're right. But here I am now, 40 years later. I'm still alive. Let me be that father. Let me be, even now, even at 50 years old, my father should still be able to protect me in
Yeah.
some way,
Hmm.
you know? And I'm trying not to hold on to it. And I know people say, when you forgive, you forget, but I haven't forgotten.
You can forgive and not forget.
I haven't forgotten. And when I hear those, I was okay until he said that. That makes it hard to honor. And hi, my goddaughter. My goddaughter's in the comments.
And then, and
So
the man,
maybe he suffered in silence. Maybe something happened in his childhood and he wasn't able to say anything because of the generation he grew up in. And he's trauma is a time traveler.
mm-hmm,
If you
a big
don't
one.
deal with that stuff, and they wasn't trying to hear about no therapist in the 50s and 60s, and not even the 70s and 80s.
Nah.
We didn't get woke to therapy really until the 2000s?
And even then, it really wasn't much of a thing until
Right.
maybe
And
like
then
2 or
until
3 years ago.
COVID
Yeah, till
helped
COVID hit.
because we had to, we was going through some stuff. So all the stuff that people, men in particular, have been holding from childhood into adulthood, Jesus in Therapy Biggie Size is showing up in your relationships, it's showing up in your decisions, it's showing up, it's manifesting itself in other ways. I want to be supportive to the men in my life. I've seen mental health issues in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen us sweep it under the rug. Ain't nothing wrong with him. That's
Yep.
just how he is. No, no, no. The behavior is not normal. Look,
Nope.
church folks, we got this Gargamel spirit, this religious Gargamel
Ooh.
spirit that want us to, ain't nothing wrong with him. Just pray.
Look,
That's just how he is. No,
and the
no.
funny part about that is
If he's
that
touching people inappropriately, that's a crime.
you gotta go. And the funny part about that, and this is the funny part about that, and I mean funny in a very figurative way,
Mm-hmm.
is that you know when we talk about mental health and the church, there's a humongous disconnect there,
True.
and the disconnect is like, so we can equate mental health with some form of spirituality. Of course, we can connect that in some way, shape, or form, because if you're in tune, if you're better as a spirit, better spiritually, naturally the other thing, if you're better emotionally and mentally, naturally the spiritual part will follow right along with it. So everything is
Right.
a kind of a trickle down effect. If I'm cool
Right.
emotionally and I'm cool mentally, then the spiritual aspect will come along right along with it. But
Yes.
there's a disconnect between the mental and the emotional part of it, and they jump right to the spiritual part of it. Now,
Okay.
there shouldn't be there's no particular order that this should go, but you can't, if someone's feeling bad,
Mm-hmm.
they're going through depression, they're suffering from anxiety, maybe PTSD, maybe psychosis, or whatever it is that person's suffering from. And I'm saying person because it could be male or female.
Right.
But for the purposes of our conversation, we'll talk about it from the male perspective. Don't tell that person that you ain't praying hard enough.
Mm.
Don't tell this person by now you should have you should have gotten over that.
My Lord.
Don't patronize that person by putting those phrases out there.
Yeah.
Because now you created a hostile environment.
Yes.
And now you created a hostile environment to where that person may or may not even want to come back to your church. They may eschew God altogether because of something you said, because of something you mentioned. And again, church, hey, Christians, look, I'm gonna say this, and I'll probably get booted from the church for probably the umpteenth time.
He gonna put you out.
But if I might get booted from the umpteenth time. but Christians, oh my goodness, I need y'all to hear me and hear me well. Stop ignoring people when they go through these emotional and mental crises.
Yeah.
Don't stop being blissfully ignorant of that.
And if you don't understand it enough to help, find resources. Let me shout out Pastor Solomon Kinlock of Triumph Church. When I attended there, he would bring mental health organizations in to do full-blown trainings and presentations on anxiety, on depression, on how to handle when your finances ain't right. He would have Alcoholic Anonymous meetings, all of these resources in the church because he recognized we ain't at the gate yet. And while I'm feeding y'all spiritually, I need to also get y'all some clinical help so that the Jesus and therapy can come together so we can be normal and be on an even playing field. I have to applaud the future mayor, Solomon Kinlock Jr. I want to applaud him he was the only person I ever known to offer things like that. What you mean? Why are you offering AA at the church? The Christians shouldn't be drinking, baby, please. The Christians is clubbing, child. The Christians is clubbing.
When people ask that question, my answer would be why not? Because just because you're a Christian don't mean you perfect.
And they want to be. You remember that, Sister Cheryl? I remember Pastor Kinlock offered all these different. I'm not sure if he still does. I haven't been there in a minute, but that's one thing that drew me is because he would have classes that covered every aspect of human life. Marriage, we got you. You're single, we got you. You got money problems, we got you. You're depressed, we got you. You drank too much, we got you. Everything you can possibly need. You ain't have to go always out to the world. He brought it in. He brought it in. Yes, that's right. Future mayor of Detroit.
This is how you begin that emotional healing. This is how you begin that mental healing, by having these things available for those people who need it.
So y'all tag some pastors. Let's get them in the room. Please provide resources.
Look, and I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it takes more than just having the resources available especially for us as men to conquer that hurdle.
But it's a start, though, isn't it? Shout out
Most
to
definitely.
Pastor Maurice Edwards.
It's most definitely a start.
Pastor Mo took his whole Sunday, a few Sundays for a whole month 2 years ago. Was it 3 years ago, Coach V? And he had different people come in on a Sunday, the Sunday service, and talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
He brought in an organization. He brought in Coach Fee. He brought in Dr. Crystal Eason. He brought in Apostle Pam Morgan. I was there. We all, Elder Sandra Cobb, the Forgiveness Coach. He took every Sunday for a month. It was called The Elephant Speaks. And he allowed different presentations to go forth on a Sunday about mental health. Now, it may not be the cure-all, but at least if these resources are at your fingertips, and the women folk don't make them feel bad for partaking, and the men folk don't think we're being shady when we give y'all the flyer and say, husband, boyfriend, fiance, brother. I heard that the church is doing, some churches do like a men's breakfast every so many months, every quarter. Most churches have a men's department and they do something together. I would love to see. I would invite my dad to those things. He has his own church. Shout out to Lighthouse Cathedral. But I want to see if y'all congregating together. Like we have women's conferences. Woman, thou loose. Woman, your skirt too short. Woman, your breast stank. Woman, stand up. Woman, sit down. We have all these women conferences. Do y'all brothers? Do the brethren go to is there a man cave conference? Is there a men you ain't by yourself conference? Are y'all congregating as men, coming into a room, a convention center, and having therapists? And do y'all do that the way women do? Women love a good brunch and a good cry.
The funny thing about that is I've only been to one of those types of things since I've been here since 2020, since I've been down here. One of the things that I want to say is that that needs to be more of that. The advent of men, especially Black, especially my brothers, having these mental health, these crises. And again, I'm not saying I'm going to include myself in that too, because I'm still fallible. But we have to have the advent of that. A lot, like you said, a lot of the sisters will present this to guys and say, look, here, but it's also about it's also about presentation too. It's about how it's presented to us. You're not going to fork over a flyer to me and say, go to this. I mean,
you got to be careful with it. Yeah, you're right.
What's the purpose of giving it to me? I mean, what's your aim in that? If you say, well, I've noticed that you've been kind of down. You've been kind of down lately, that you've been not feeling, you haven't been yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then we can kind of move in that. If you say
can't be in the wrong spirit. And I think that's kind of where some of us women probably do hit a snag, because of how we say certain things or how the message is delivered. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it, and then turn around and it's how it's received. So the messenger and the recipient had to be in the right spirit, because when I've been married and I've made the statements, honey, I think you would, but then that goes back to what that person has gone through in their life. A lot of stuff, so much of who we are is attached to where we've been. Exactly. And what we've seen or didn't see. This thing is deep.
Exactly.
And we let go of one another, maybe prematurely and maybe not, or we attach ourselves too soon because we haven't allowed those people to be healed. Right. If you are going into a marriage and you got some unresolved issues with yourself and you haven't even established yourself as a man, as a able-bodied, clear-minded man, attaching yourself to a woman and a child probably isn't a good idea. We need
Not
to allow
slowly.
ourselves to and that goes for women too. If a woman is not healed and she's been abused and she's been going through all these things and she hasn't really found herself again and she attaches herself to a man, that man becomes an idol and she expects him to be her savior. And now you got two toxic people depending on each other.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be honest. One of the best things that happened to me was going through my grief journey.
Really?
It's one of the best, and it sounds weird. It sounds
Wow.
crazy, and it also sounds a bit far fetched. But that to me, that was one of the best. That was one of the better experience. That was one of the best experiences that I had. And I'm not saying that because, and I'm not saying that to be facetious or even anything of that nature. I'm honestly saying that was one of the best things that happened to me. And the reason I say that is because that journey, that journey exposed a lot of things that I've been dealing with personally, professionally, as well as intellectually. It exposed a lot of things that I was suffering from. Exposed a lot of things that I hadn't healed from.
Wow.
But
so even in your grief, that journey helped you because it showed you some things about you. Wow, bro.
And it put me on a path of like, okay, look, this is what you're gonna do, and this is what you're not gonna do. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves from this point forward. Again, and for me, it was like it was crazy. It was a bit painful, but it was also, for me, it was like really transformative because now it put me to a point to where I had to go into myself.
Wow.
I had to go back and look into myself and say, hey, what the hell is all this what the hell is this going on around here?
Wow.
I had to look at the landscape of my heart and the landscape of my soul and look at it and say, well, damn, this ain't right.
Wow.
I have people and things. I have people and things that have constructed buildings in my heart and in my soul that don't belong there. That have no proper that have no residence there. So I had to do some emotional and spiritual and mental, demolition and reconstruction. And I had to understand that for all this to happen, I had to go through some pain.
My Lord. I
posted this early on Facebook. What we as people, especially us as Black people, brothers and sisters, what we don't realize is that healing requires pain.
Ooh, how you know you're healed if you ain't felt the pain?
It's gotta hurt. It's gotta hurt if it's gonna heal.
Jesus,
People
that's
don't
a whole
realize
word.
If you healing and you not feeling pain, then you're not healing. And I had to realize that all this stuff that taking residence in my heart and in my soul and in my mind. I had to destroy all that. And I had to call the ultimate FEMA, which is God.
Well, come on with it then, bro.
I mean, God, look, you see this territory. You see the destruction that lays before you.
Ooh, come on. Speak, brother.
Can you help me fix this?
Can you help me? The total, utter destruction where you can't even recognize there was a building.
Yep.
Can you see them hurricane pictures aftermath?
Mm-hmm. Can you fix this? Can you help me rebuild this somehow to where this is a lot more stronger, a lot more sturdier, a lot more resilient
have mercy
than it was before?
Wow.
And again, and it goes, and for me, gentlemen, I want y'all to hear me. And I want y'all to hear me very, very well.
Speak to him, brother. Speak to him.
What I'm saying, telling you guys is that it's important for us to realize this part. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a licensed social worker. None of that. just a guy with experiences that could help the next brother. My experience with going deep into myself and destroying the things that didn't belong there, that had no resonance, had no precedent in my life, was important. And because I did that and removed all those things that wasn't there, it allowed me to operate in a little bit more clarity than I had before. Now I can see the forest before the trees.
My Lord.
Now I can actually look to the horizon without expecting to look beyond it.
That's good.
Because in most cases, and I think this is a lot of us as guys, we try to look past the horizon and not just look towards it. Because to be honest with you, if you can't look past the horizon. The horizon is just boom right there. You can't look anywhere past it.
Wow.
And that is your limitation. That's your limitation.
Wow.
And
wow.
There are days where you're going to smile. There are days where you're going to cry. There are days where you're going to scream. There are days where you want to shout. There are days where you're going to say, look, I can't do this. I can't. And I've had those days. Truth be told, guys, I still have those days. Those days don't go away just because you're going through your healing process. Those days can come back. Those days can come back in the form of a memory of something. Can come back to the memory of a person that you may have lost, or a traumatic experience, or just thinking about your life in particular.
Wow.
And I'm gonna admit there a lot of those days came when I was thinking about my son. Days where I thought that, damn, if I was just a better father to him, none of this would have happened.
Wow.
More present in his life, none of this would have happened. But at the same time, you realize that at the end of the day, at the end of it all, what happened was a choice. Those choices have consequences.
Indeed.
And you have to live with the consequences of your choices. And the one thing that I mentioned is that those consequences become payable at any given point in time. Whether it's immediate, whether it's right away, whether it's immediate or down the line. And I had to realize that he made a choice. He paid the consequence for it. The consequence is for him not being here. But I also had to understand that there's also a burden on the person who perpetrated it.
Okay.
And I can't push him not wanting to be here, him not being here as part of my own agenda. That is his burden. That is his cross to bear. I had to learn that God will deal with him as appropriate. And for me, the hardest part was just really just letting go. I think with any of us as men, especially when we go through these things, that we know that when we navigate grief, when we navigate loss, or when we're just navigating life, period.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to learn that certain instances and certain situations are not good for us, and we have to let them go. If you're a guy and you've been with a toxic person, and this person isn't good for you, you have to get to a point to where you have to let that go. And it's okay to let go. It's okay to release. It's okay to let go.
Wow.
Because again, people and thoughts and things can have a propensity to live rent free in your head. When we allow these things to live rent free in our heads, we get thrown off course. Sometimes we get thrown back. We get thrown back right back to square one. Starting from square one is the hardest place to start from.
Yes.
Again, for my brothers out there, I mean, it is not about It's not about having this mask on your face all the time. It's not about wearing this armor to protect you or turtling up every time someone asks you what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you you got to stick your head out of the shell.
Come on.
Because if you don't, because you can't talk to somebody. You can't talk to somebody clearly from a shell. You got to stick your head. You got to take that chance and stick your head out and speak to somebody. Of course, there's a possibility of someone weaponizing your emotions against you, but to me that's 50-50.
Wow.
But you have to be able to talk to somebody. If you don't trust somebody, if you don't trust anybody, then take it to God.
Yeah.
God's gonna listen to you quietly, non-assuming, but also be prepared for the answer you're gonna get.
And maybe God will help you find people to trust. That's why I'm bumping up against people that I know, brothers in particular, that have been hurt so deeply by other women that the assumption is made that the next woman is going to hurt you just like, and I'm not perfect. I got a mouth. And if you back me into a corner and make me feel rejected, you probably going to hear some choice words from me because of my own trauma. And I've had to do a lot of apologizing for things that I have said. And I'm asking God, and I have a therapist that'll help me with that anger, because those of us as women who have been rejected, who have experienced abuse, we see things out of the lens of trauma. And sometimes we come out swinging because we feel danger is coming.
But most men,
fight or flight.
But some men do that too. They see everything.
I was thinking that when I said it. I said, well, maybe some of the men are doing that too. We just maybe do it a different way. Well, but that lack of trust could be a traumatic response too.
Yeah, and the lens of trauma looks different on every person, because no one person's trauma is the same. Now it could now it could be the same origin of trauma, but how people deal with it and how people handle it are two completely different things. Again,
I've just gotten tired, I think, of trying to prove to people of the male species that, yeah, I may flip off at the mouth when I'm provoked. I'm a good-hearted person. When I sense that whole rejection coming and the biggest problem I have sometimes is I don't like going back and forth. Well, guess what? Dialogue and conversation is by definition a back and forth. I don't want to argue, but I still want us to have a dialogue, a two-way communicative exchange. You speak, I speak, I speak, you speak. So instead of this, I don't like confrontation. Now you only want conversation. And maybe that could be because in their experiences, or maybe there has been some trauma where conversation has led to yelling, screaming, berating, demeaning. So the assumption is if we go back and forth too much, you're going to blow up like she did. And it's not fair. Hi, Apostle.
I think sometimes that dialogue ends up being a monologue.
Apostle says, truth be told, it's harder for men to deal with rejection than women. I believe that, because I've had a tough time in trying to get through to certain people without that wall. Like you let this woman over here jack you up crazy, but I say one thing off cuff and you want to kick me to the curb, but you let her.
Exactly. But I mean, but again, that dialogue turns into a monologue. It has and unfortunately that's the way. That's most definitely how a lot of our interpersonal relationships with the fairer sex becomes, because somebody says something, a woman may say something triggering, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm cool. I'm shut out. I ain't gonna listen. It's cool. You ain't gotta say nothing else. I heard what I heard, and I ain't gonna respond to it.
But that trigger thing could be tricky, even because people don't always know what you're triggered up with. If I'm not in your head, And I haven't been in your past. I wasn't in a corner taking notes as your life unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what you've experienced. I don't know only what you tell me. So if I do say or do something that's quote unquote triggering, 9 times out of 10, it probably is unintentional. I'm just trying to get to know you. And my love language, Latanya Harris Gooden likes to talk things through.
True. But this is where grace has to come in.
Okay.
This is where that G word we all talk about, and we say it and we speak on it so eloquently, and we talk about it, and we tell people to extend it and to give it and to
We do.
pass it around like it's a Thanksgiving turkey. Yet,
Thanksgiving turkey.
Yet, and I say this with a hard yet.
Yet
we have no earthly idea on what it means, what it truly means to give someone grace, what it truly means to give someone not the benefit of the doubt per se, but to give that person patience and time.
Okay. Patience and time.
Understanding. You
okay.
know, we say, you want to extend grace to this person, but you have no earthly idea what that means, what it means to extend that. And we always say, well, that's where grace comes in. And true grace is patience, it's understanding, it's being kind, it's listening without judgment, but also responding appropriately without judgment.
We've got a good question in the comments. Apostle Johanna says, why is it so hard for men to let go?
Whew. That largely
look at that.
That largely depends on the situation. Apostle Clark tweets, and I'll say this as it pertains to me. I can't speak for any other guy, but as it pertains for me. Now, letting go depends on what I'm letting go, or what I'm letting go or releasing.
Okay.
It was hard for me. It was hard for me to let go of the fact that my son was gone, because it was something that was unbelievable, something that I couldn't fathom.
That's a good question, Tiffany.
You know, because, and it's hard to let go of someone. It's hard to let go of someone that you love, or someone that you cared about. It's also hard to let go of a situation that you're involved in. It's also hard to let go of a mindset. It's hard to let go of them. Sometimes it's hard to let go of a mindset because you've been so ingrained and so much taught into it that changing is difficult. If I could give you the plain answer of it, why is it so hard for us as men to let go? Because, well, shoot, change. Afraid some of us, myself, and I'm going to put myself in this. We are afraid of change.
Wow.
Some of us, not all of us, but I'm going to put myself in there because change was hard for me.
Okay.
Change is still hard for me.
Okay.
To let go of certain things, Apostle, requires change. And if you can't embrace change, then you're going to stay. Well, most of us stay stuck in the same situation. I hope that answered your question.
Wow. That's good. And the next question, and we're going to get ready to wrap up. How many times should you give a person grace?
That largely depends on your own temperament.
Okay.
I mean, there's no textbook answer in that. That's going to largely depend on your own temperament. A person, you can give a person as much as grace, as much time, as many as you can.
Yes, ma'am.
But then they still don't change. Then at some point you got to be like, well, okay, I've given you the benefit of the doubt. I've listened. I've listened to you without judgment. I've given you time. I've given you patience. I've given you understanding, and you still are responding in the same negative tone. Well, I'm gonna have to distance myself from you. And again, that largely depends on your own temperament.
And I've been on the other side of that. I've been the one where I've said some hurtful things, and they say, "Okay, I'll forgive you." Came back again, got provoked, said some hurtful things. So then I started saying, okay, evidently you are my trigger.
True.
Evidently you have become, I'm triggered by, I love you, I have affection for you, but if
But you
every
get on
time
my
we have a
nerves.
conversation I'm triggered,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going off, maybe this just ain't meant to be, because I've had to learn that certain people, certain connections just ain't meant to be, because the whole thought of them, and every time they open their mouth, they
You
trigger
repulse.
me.
I mean, and again, it goes to temperament. How many times are you willing to do that? How many times are you willing to put yourself through the ringer, the proverbial ringer, in order to gain this person's trust, this person's understanding? I mean, now giving yourself grace is something is a continual process. And I say that because you can give yourself as much time as you can, but at the same time, even that has limits. So again, how many times you give someone grace, limits and temperament. If you feel like this person, no matter how much you pour into this person, or how much positive things you say to this person, or no matter how many times you hug this person, and you're there for this person. I mean, how many times you do that, and they still want to walk away. They still want to walk the wayward path.
Been there.
It's in some instances it's time to just let go and be like, hey,
let it go.
I love you. I love you as a friend. I love you as a person that I've
from a distance, from over there.
Relationship, but bro, I gotta feed you from a long handle spoon.
See, that's good. That's good.
It's not like I don't know. That's not an exact science to that. But for me, the main thing is the main thing is temperament and your temperament. Yeah, I'm learning to have a pretty fair temperament when it comes to people and things, because I know that people didn't have that fair temperament with me, especially when I was running around here screwing up all the time and falling over my own feet and tripping up and falling on my head and stuff like that. So I understand.
And if your fair temperament, if you're trying to keep a fair temperament and the person you're dealing with is not, that's a recipe for disaster.
Oh yeah,
because I've dealt with that. Here I am. I'm a peaceful person. I want peace around me. I want peace in my home. But the person I'm dealing with is the opposite. They are a ticking time bomb, because some people have been brought up in homes that were so chaotic. Peace is uncomfortable. They're not happy unless it's a jump up. They're not happy unless it's an argument. Just like chaos is uncomfortable for me, there are people in this planet where peace is unusual. It's too quiet.
Man, look,
it's too quiet. So I've learned I can't do that.
I got you. I feel you.
I've lived that, and even in my childhood, it's been a lot of hollering. I need peace, quiet, soothing sounds. We got to get out of here.
I know. But
the one thing I want to leave with, because each time I'm doing this once or twice a week for the rest of the month, as we talk about men's mental health. And the last thing I want to land on is what we can do to help our brothers. And the one thing that we've talked about tonight is the emotional support and encouragement. So as women, sisters, mothers, wives, friends, whatever you are to the brothers out there, we need to find a way to be encouraging, to lift them up and not tear them down. Even if it comes to situations where you have a baby's father, maybe he's not stepping in. If there's a way that you can say without going ballistic, hey, we need help over here. Instead of going on Facebook and running his picture across the screen and just dragging them, maybe there can be a private conversation. What you're going through, I pray for you. I pray for better employment. I pray that God, gives you what you need. That way you can speak be what you need to be. But in the meantime, your child still needs you. Even when you don't have money, still build a relationship with your kid. Emotional support and encouragement. So my challenge for myself and my challenge to the ladies out there is to find a way, if you're not already, Apostle, you ain't got no problem with that, because she tells us how she supports her spouse. We've talked about that. But she could teach a class on that, on how to provide emotional support and encouragement to a spouse, to a significant other, to a son, to just a brother, to a neighborhood brother, whatever, so that we can build up and not tear down. Brother, I want to thank you for spending this time with me as I kick off this series. I'm halfway through the month of June, so I got a full speed ahead, but this gives me a chance to spend time with those who I call brother, who I have mad respect for, because I plan to be married again. I plan to be someone's helpmate one final time, and I'm rebuilding that one more go round. I want to prepare my mind, prepare my thoughts, prepare my words for receiving that responsibility. But even in my platonic relationships with my brothers, I want to be known for, being encouraging. Hold you accountable, yes, but even the accountability, there can still be encouragement. Exactly. Accountability shouldn't be rude. Just, you can be real, but we try to disguise being real, but you're being rude. You're just rude. Don't call it real, call it rude.
There's a difference.
You're really rude. So thank you for this, for doing this. And each time I'll be back tomorrow at 5 with my brother Nkosi. Each time we're going to end with a solution on how we as women can better support our brothers. And when I say brothers, I don't mean just black men. If you are a male, then you're a part of our community, then you deserve to be supported. Thank you all. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Apostle. Thank you, Simone. Everyone who's in the chat. Auntie Diane, thank y'all for hanging with us. Please meet me back here tomorrow at 5. Nkosi Mason, who I met through Natasha Beautiful Thought. And shout out to Natasha. Natasha did an event twice just for men. She rents out this beautiful, serene log cabin venue that has all the peaceful nature around, and she did an event just for men. It was spoken word, it was refreshment. I don't remember refreshments, but it was just for the men. You would come in, have this, no men, women were allowed but her, nobody but her. But it was a time of release, a time of connection, community, and I invited every brother I knew, and they all had excuses. So y'all brothers gonna have to start doing things that perpetuate y'all peace.
But you know why those excuses were, because of being judged in some way.
I hear that. I even offered to cover the expense for a couple of brothers. Just I meant that much. Yeah, it meant that much to me to get them in the room. And she wasn't charging much, just to cover the price of the place and a couple of snacks. But if you all want to be healthy mentally, we all have to look at what we do and how we spend our time. So if you're doing things that are constantly bringing up negative thoughts around people that are constantly triggering you, then you're going to perpetuate the thoughts, the negative thoughts. But I do things like the Peaceful Poetic Play, shameless plug, to bring peace to my life. I want to be around peaceful people and do different things that involve music and poetry and color and texture. So I will say in closing to you, my brother, thank you. I look up to you. Shout out to the Man Cave Conversations group. I want y'all to follow Man Cave. You still got that page up?
Oh, yeah.
Man Cave Conversations is just for y'all. Ain't no women in there. Shouldn't be. Girls, stay out of there. It's Man Cave Conversations. You all need places to have all men discussion without us, bothering y'all for $10 and a pack of eyelashes. So, yeah. Thank you all. This has been amazing. I was going to stop at an hour, but it got good. So part 2 tomorrow. My brother says the journey to mental health is a human one. It is one that requires an understanding of where you are in this plane of existence. And I applaud you, brother, for coming in to have this conversation. We've always been able to, we don't hold no punches when it comes to real talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. We want to be free of all the inhibitions and the I'm ashamed. No, we want to be free.
I am not
Because
ashamed.
I know our
Never
relationships can be better when we free ourselves of some of these things. So thank you all for hanging. Thank you for tagging. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening to me in my situation. I'm still gonna show up Sunday with my honor intact, as I honor those who are fathers and father figures in my life. And shout out to the late great Minister Grant King, who was my mom's husband and my true father that raised me for 30 plus years. That was there when others were not. I thank him.
Big shout out.
To rest, Minister Grant King. You are missed. We couldn't stand each other for 6 whole years, but we had the whole awkwardness. But that was Dad. That was Daddy. So I bid you good night. Continue to follow and share. Please help me to reach 500 subscribers on YouTube. Meet me back here tomorrow at 5 with my brother. Also next Wednesday, the one and only Andrew Griffin is coming. But this time, not for Power Hour. He's bringing Josiah Jones, comedian Josiah Jones. We are doing a critical conversation called Dads with a Sense of Humor. We're talking about comedy. Andrew is doing what's called Praise and Punchlines. He did a pilot for it a couple weeks ago at a church in Detroit. So we're bridging the gap between comedy and the Vision Initiative. So you get to have praise. The Griffin girls are singing, and you get to hear amazing comedy all in one. The next one is in July, so we'll be talking about that this coming Wednesday. But Andrew is this region's premier confidence guru and youth transformational speaker. He's been my 3rd week guest for the last year. It's been an amazing collaboration. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you again, brother. I appreciate you. We're going to do this again real soon, at least once a month. But I'm going to get off here, have some dinner. Thank you all. Please tag, please share. And I'll be back tomorrow at 5. Last words, brother, and then we're going to get out of here.
Whew. Journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Lao Tzu said it best. And it takes that one step to get to the place that you want to be. If it's healing, if it's restoration, if it's reformation, you just have to take that one step to get it. And you don't, and I've said this on more than one occasion, we don't, as men, we don't walk alone. We do not.
Say it again.
We walk with God by our side.
Ooh, my Lord.
We don't take that one step by ourselves. We take that step with God. And if
Jesus, that's good.
If we walk with God with every step of our journey, we'll get to the clarity. We'll get to the healing. We'll get to the restoration. We'll get to the reformation. We'll get to the
come on, bro,
to the place that we want to be.
Yes.
But not only just to the place that we want to be, we'll go beyond the place that we want to be.
Ooh, that's good. Come on.
And we'll also be able to get to other places. We'll also be able to reach other people.
Yes.
Gentlemen, in closing, your journey is important. Your mental and emotional well-being is important.
Yes.
You have a purpose on this earth.
Yes.
You have a purpose in your life.
Jesus.
You have a destiny that you need to fulfill.
That's good, brother.
You have a person or persons that you need to reach and that you need to reach out and reach to. So I implore you,
Yeah.
though this journey may be hard, it may be
Yeah.
arduous, it may be difficult. It's going to be
Mm,
filled with pitfalls and destruction and all kind of things that go along with that.
mm.
Do me this one solid. Don't give up.
That's good.
Don't give up. Don't give in and stay and remain to stand flat. Remain and stand flat footed.
Mm.
You got to dig in, dig in. So but don't give up. I implore you, don't give up. I love
Mm.
you. I love you, my brother. I love you with the love of Christ, and I am rooting for you.
That's good. That's good. All right, y'all heard it. He gave the brothers a declaration. That should have given you some hope. You're not walking alone. So we're out of here. Have a good night. I'll be back tomorrow at 5. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Bye, y'all.